Well, now it's on to the dungeon debate. We don't have a lot of time, so we'll make it quick and sweet, but it's still a pretty interesting debate. We are looking at the special weapons of D&D in the Player's Handbook, which is the lance, which Jake will be protecting, and I will be protecting...
Protecting?
A net.
I guess protecting works. I'll be defending the lance.
And I will be protecting the net.
Yeah, so D&D is about doing crazy things. So just imagine, I want to put two pictures in your mind. The first picture is a knight in shining armor. Have you ever been to a Renaissance festival? Two knights ramming each other, bam, with two lances, splinters shattering, people screaming, blood everywhere. The second image I'd like to put in your minds is a young boy throwing a net into the water and catching a fish.
Here, how about this? I will show you two images. Everyone been to Renaissance festivals and stuff like that? Very typical. But have you ever went into a coliseum where every warrior is unique? You see a man holding a trident and a net, and you're like wondering, what the heck? Why is he using a net? That's not a weapon.
It's for show.
Well, it can be. It's for style points. Style points makes a character so much better. Gladiators of old would use tridents and nets as a style. They would ensnare their victims, making them hopeless as they stab them with their trident and execute them. It's a lot. It's very cool.
You can't actually do that in D&D, unfortunately.
Yeah,
you can't.
Yeah, you can.
Nets require an action.
No.
They do. They require an action.
Not to set off, to get out of.
No, they require an action to throw.
No, but you can still hit after the net.
You absolutely can't. It specifically says if you use the net as an attack, you cannot use any subsequent attacks.
No, you can. You can make one attack.
It says you can't.
No, it says you can make one attack.
Oh, we're going to have a rules dispute.
No, it literally, in the book, it says you can make one melee attack after you cast the net, which makes sense. Because
it does make sense, but I'm pretty sure it said you can't.
You can't do multi-attack with it. Because that kind of gets rid of the entire advantage of the net. So I'm just going to go through the base stuff of each weapon. So you
give net, I'll give lance.
Okay. Well, how about you go first? Go first, please.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, that's fine.
I insist. The gladiator's weapon is superior to a typical knight.
So a lance...
Go ahead.
...is a reach weapon, meaning while you're sitting over there with your sword or whatever, I can just hit you with my lance.
All right.
And you get hit. So the only downside of a lance is its reach. If you're within 5 feet, you have disadvantage.
Very bad.
Yes, it can be
pretty bad.
But if I was in a coliseum and they say, "Do you want a net or do you want a lance?" I'm taking the lance. You can throw that net all you want. I'm gonna ram you with this lance. Your net's not gonna do anything. Anyway, so what a lance does is it requires 2 hands if not mounted. But if you are mounted, it's a very good weapon. It's the weapon for mounted combat.
Well, it is the weapon for mounted combat.
Yeah, because it gives you reach, and now you can have a one-handed lance. A lance does 1d12 piercing, so that's the highest that a regular weapon does. And with reach,
it's equal
you can hit people before they hit you. You can stay out of their zone.
Sort of, ish.
Yeah. So it's a special weapon, right? But it's a weapon that is very good in certain circumstances. If you're mounted, it's OP. And you can actually use it with a team if you want to be kind of a support, kind of like standing behind someone, or it's a 1d12 damage.
You can use a lot of other weapons that are a lot more viable for the reach aptitude than a lance. Lances are godlike if you're mounted. I will agree with that.
So basically, both of these weapons are going to be weapons you have, but they aren't going to be your main weapons, obviously. No one attacks with a net, and no one attacks with a lance. So it's which weapon is a better thing to have with you.
You never heard of Shovel Knight, Jake? He has a lance shovel. It's amazing. He only fights with a shovel. That's also a lance.
See? That's all you need.
But it's a shovel act? I don't know.
But so I believe a lance is a better addition. Because if you are mounted, well, there you go, you're OP. But also, there are situations where pulling out a reached weapon would be nice. And it does 1d12 damage.
Okay.
So, boom.
So, all right. Good statements. But the lance does have a couple of critical disadvantages. So number one, it costs 10 times more. At 10 gold pieces, while compared to the net, it's 1 gold piece.
Yes, but nets only have one use. You throw them on, if they break out, it's destroyed.
Only if you cut it.
Which they would. If they break out, it destroys.
It doesn't mean they break out, they move it out of the way. They just get out of it. They don't. The only way to destroy is if you cut it.
But they don't have to make a roll, right, if they cut it? Slashing damage just destroys it.
So there's two things. Yes, I will explain. But, yes, does 1d12 damage, pretty good. But the disadvantage...
It does not do 1d12.
No, I'm talking about the lance.
Oh, God. I was like, your net does no damage.
The main disadvantage in a combat is if anyone gets in 5 feet of you, you have disadvantage, which is a huge thing in most combat in D&D. A lot of things will be in your face. While the net... So let me explain about the net. Either. The net will help, as the net can ensnare a large to smaller creature, causing the creature to be restrained.
Wait, so only large and small?
Large, medium, small.
That's it? You can't go bigger? You can definitely do a 1d12 worth of damage to bigger things.
Okay, I'm not even going. So I'm going to read to you what restrain does. A restrained creature speed becomes 0. So your little hit and run technique is useless. And it can benefit from and it can't benefit from any bonus of speed. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage, and the creature's attack rolls have disadvantage. The creature has disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. So basically, you restrain the target. You're keeping them in place.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So you restrain the target with the net, which you can have a follow-up advantage attack. So you can have the D12, so the D12 at disadvantage at 5 feet. Or you can go with a battle axe or longsword that can do a D8 or some other weapon.
What kind of classes do you think would be using a net? What's like the number one?
Fighters.
So a big part of a fighter is multi-attack. To sacrifice extra damage just to restrain them is probably not the way to go.
But, well, yes, that is a thing, but this is what the net comes into play. The creature that is restrained has to use its action on its turn to remove, or something else has to walk up and use its action to remove the net.
That's how restraint works, but you can restrain things without a net.
But
you just do it.
The thing is, well, no, that's your action. This is part of your attack. So you can attack and restrain them at the same time. And it's super powerful because you just eliminate their retaliation of attacking you, unless they want to attack you at disadvantage. So basically, you ensnare the target, you keep them in place so they can't run away and use that reach part. So basically, we're putting up a mounted warrior against a gladiator.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
We're putting up a person with a lance versus a person with a net.
With no other weapon.
No other weapon.
No, you have to. Yes.
No, we don't.
No,
why?
Yeah. Why can't they have another weapon?
Because then, okay, I'll take a flame tongue. What does that mean? Now it's all about...
That's not how that works.
Another weapon. I think... Okay, that's fine. I guess if you get another weapon, then they get a horse, right?
Right.
Okay, well, you're going to lose. Are you kidding me?
Mounted combat is not great in D&D for some reason, unless you're a flying mount, but no. Every time you get hit, you can get knocked off.
Yes.
And the net ensnares you and the horse. You can snare
What's the range on your net?
5 to 15 feet.
It's going to be tough. Horses go really fast, so the horse is going to run in, hit, and run out, and you're going to be out of range. I guess maybe you could catch him. But the problem is, you're going to throw your net. The net's going to get destroyed, and now you're a dude.
The net... the thing... Here,
it's a one-time use.
Well, it's not a one-time use.
But why wouldn't they slash out of it? A lot of things have swords.
You can't... Well, you have disadvantage to slash if you're restrained.
But they're going to do it.
Well, let's
say I start out with a lance. I have it forever. Let's say I start out with a net. I'm going to lose it pretty quick.
Well, yeah, that's why it's 1 gold piece and you buy multiple. So you can buy 10 nets worth of 1 lance. That's still really good.
But the lance is infinite. It's a better investment.
No, not necessarily. Because the net is such... In real life was a very powerful weapon. They had to make a whole gladiatorial class. No, it was.
No, it really wasn't.
No, it was.
Gladiators were fake. They weren't fighters.
No, but like in actual 1-to-1, they had to make
in gladiator fights or in actual war.
Gladiator fights are the special types of warriors. So a 1-on-1 fight is completely different to total war. Of course, you're not going to have millions of dudes with nets.
But even a 1v1 fight, gladiators were not made to be perfectly good. They were made to be flashy and fun.
They were flashy, but they were still very good warriors. Like a gladiator would stomp a normal footman. He would not just destroy him. They were excellent fighters.
It depends.
They were excellent fighters. Not
a Skyrim guard.
Okay. You don't mess with the Skyrim guards, all right? They will one-shot you, and they'll kill you. Skyrim guards are different, all right? They're built different. I will agree with you on that.
Yes.
But so basically, the whole purpose of the net is you take away the creature's action to get out of the net. So basically,
but you are giving an action to do so.
You are giving... So basically, your action is you throw the net...
Are you saying the net is a bonus action?
No. This is the entire action. The net... You throw it on them, which restrains them. They cannot attack you unless they want disadvantage. They can't do anything else. You restrain them. They cannot move. And then you get a follow-up combo with a advantage hit of your secondary weapon.
But you can't do multi-attack.
You cannot do multi-attack.
So you're giving up multi-attack.
Yes, but you have advantage on the hit, and they have to waste their time getting out of the net instead of hitting you. Which is really good. It's very strong.
That is good.
And how they get out of it is they can make a 10 strength saving throw, or they can hit with a AC of 10, and deal 5 slashing damage. So and I believe lances are piercing, so lances can't break out of it. So if the one guy
you just can get out of it.
You can, but it will not be destroyed.
It is not only lance versus net. I think the lance would win. I mean, give me a mount and, the lance gets a mount if you get a weapon, right?
That's the thing. We're talking about what betters a fighter. A mount is not guaranteed in a fighter, but a fighter will always have a net and another weapon. It's a lance versus a net and another weapon. Well, no, we
have to look at the context of the weapon. So any character can get a mount if they want. You just have to pay for one. And if you have a lance, that mount is now very valuable. But a net, they're cheap, but they're cheap because they're not as useful. Basically, they're not as good. So,
because because they can't be expensive if they get destroyed. They're reusable tools. They're powerful.
There's a lot of ways of judging which one is better. One is net fighter versus mounted lance fighter, and let's put him on a griffin or something. Like he flies down.
You cannot do it with a griffin.
Well, you can do whatever you want.
You can't. Okay, then the guy has the vocal sword.
Another thing you can do is just which one is better in general. Like a net on its own is worthless. A lance on its own is not.
Well, no.
That's one way.
Well, no, because the net is not supposed to be on its own. That's not what it's made for. We have to talk about...
Neither is a lance. Lance is supposed to be on a mount.
Well, yeah. Well, yes. But theoretically, if you attack on a mount, you can do the hit and run. But in certain situations, mounts are not a good combination.
Certain situations.
Other creatures have reach. You can have a reach weapon with the net as well, and the net totally eliminates the range hit movement by ensnaring the horse. You can ensnare the horse; they're a large, so you.
But then you're not ensnaring the person, correct? They have separate attacks, so then you'll just get lanced.
No, but the thing is, the horse will fall over and be restrained. You have to make a check to get up. Yes, no, they do. Yes, that's how it works.
Well, okay.
Nets just entrap.
Nets are good at what they do, restraining. But anyone can restrain anyone at any time.
But you can't do a attack with that combination. You can just grab.
So yes, it makes it slightly better.
It makes it very good.
People can't do what a lance does on their own. A lance is its own thing.
Yes, you can.
What?
You can have a pole arm on a mount. You do the same thing, but better, because you can attack within 5 feet.
Sure, but it
just does 2 less damage.
That is not something the player can do on their own. They'd have to have a pole arm. But a player can restrain anyone just with their body. Any character can do that. But if you want to be a reach person, you need a lance or something else that reaches.
Well, another person with a net can have a reach weapon too. So we're talking about the lance by yourself. You're holding one.
When you have a lance, you can also have a net. Anyone can have other things.
You can't have a net though.
Why not?
Because it's a 2-handed weapon.
It's a one-handed weapon if you're mounted.
If you're mounted. But if you eliminate the mounted part, which in most combat, the horse has only 11 hit points, dies pretty quickly.
Well, you're assuming what the mount is.
And every time you get hit, you have a chance of falling off. Mounted combat in D&D, no one uses it. It's not that powerful. Lances are barely used.
Special weapons, no one uses either, really.
Well, I'm actually going to make if I make a next character, I'm going to make a gladiator. Because I just really like the idea of a net other weapon. Because it's such a cool, like, style points. Like, very unique fighter with a net and stuff like that. And you can make, like, different variants. I forget what those are called, but do you know what I'm talking about? Like, the two iron balls with, like, the leather strap. Like, the string. You just, when you throw them, it wraps around the people's legs.
Oh, yeah.
Makes them trip. That's kind of like the same thing. Because you can throw the net 5 to 15 feet away. I don't think you just go... with a net, I don't know. But, just it adds a lot of cool style points. But it's just the good combo. You take away their action. That's such a big thing. They can't attack.
But you take away one of your actions, too.
Well, you still get to do more damage in that round compared to them. Because they have to get out of the
That's not necessarily true.
Yes, it is.
Not necessarily.
Yes, it is.
If they get to attack and you get to attack twice, you do one more. If you take away an attack and you also take away your own attack, you do one more.
You still get to attack.
Yeah, but it's still just one more.
But they don't touch you, period.
You
still don't take damage, period.
We'll have to see the rules.
Very strong.
So if a net does require a full action and you don't get to attack afterwards, it's definitely a bit worse than a
That means the net is absolutely useless.
Okay, good.
Because that is not because...
We'll have to check.
I literally read it, and that's what it says.
What you're saying makes more sense.
It would be so broken if someone had a net and they're like a level 16 fighter and got like 4 attacks off. And the dude could not respond.
But notice a level 16 fighter should never use a net, even if it does what you say.
Well, yes, that is true.
But they totally could use a lance.
No one would use a lance. Why would you ever use a lance?
If you're mounted.
Compared to
a
other
net,
weapons.
You would never use. A lance you would use if you're mounted.
Well, I mean... I guess so. But, like, let's say you had, like, a very... So, this is for low-tier fighters because you're not going to be attacking a lot with the lance.
And a lance is for all-tier fighters.
Not necessarily.
Yes, it
is. No, it has such a disadvantage with the fight.
But you can be mounted at any level.
It doesn't matter if you're mounted. If someone gets close to you, you're at disadvantage.
Then you can switch your weapon.
Well, that takes a whole other action unless
it doesn't. Yeah, it does. Interaction.
Well, no, but... No, there's actually a rule where like you can't do your multi-attack if you do that.
Well, you can stab them, use your interaction to put it away, and then next turn you pull out another sword.
I'm not sure how that works though. It's like
you get one interaction per turn.
Well, yeah, no, but I just imagine like in combat, like the goblin charges up, the knight like stabs him, and then he's like, "Oh, you're too close." Puts the lance like in his imaginary pocket. And
pulls that's how D&D goes. Yes.
Yeah, I guess so. But I'm just saying. Let's just end this up quickly. The net has a very cool feature, very unique, and it has a very powerful ability of just eliminating the other person's turn, basically. They have to get out of the net. Unless they want to attack you with disadvantage, but that's stupid. Unless they roll really high. And you get to do a cool combo, net attack, which is a very cool style. And you can do all sorts of cool little tricks with it, And you would obviously bring multiple nets. You would not carry one. So, yeah. That's my argument.
You could have 2 lances.
That would be so... Oh, my God. Actually, you could do that on a mounted horse. You just charge it. That would be sick.
Talk about style.
But, yes, since the lance does have its disadvantages of within 5 feet...
That's the only one.
It's a very big thing, though. It's very bad. That's a very bad disadvantage. You would only use it in mounted.
It's a special weapon.
It is a special weapon.
A net also is trash unless you have other things. You gotta have other stuff.
Well, you're supposed to be with. Okay, yes, but please.
So the lances, you could use it just simply to get a 1d12 worth of damage in, and then put it away.
Which you could get like a 1, which sucks.
You could get a 1 on the net too, but yes.
Well, no.
Oh, you're saying 1 out of D? Yes, yeah, obviously. Well, net does 0 every time, so it's better than that.
But you get a advantage. Like let's the averages, the math makes the net combo.
Let's say you have a fighter with a multi-attack. You can attack someone multiple times with your lance. A fighter with a net, you're instantly making yourself only have 1 attack.
But imagine all those are at disadvantage.
What are at disadvantage?
The lance attacks.
They could be. But they also, if you are the one attacking and coming in, they might be not.
But remember, if like someone had a net, they would throw on you. Your multi-attack is gone. Literally gone for that turn. And then they'll just do it again.
Yes, that's the point of the net.
Which is very strong. Literally, fighter to fighter,
if you hit them,
that net power
If you hit them. And then it's only one time. It's gone. They can destroy it.
Well, no, if they get out of it, it's gone. And it only is slashing. So if you had someone with a hammer, a spear, a lance, you can't. Which is stupid, though. You could, take the blunt end of the spear. But I guess so.
All right.
But end your statement with the lance.
Yeah, so the lance is better because it actually deals damage, and any level of player can benefit from it. Mounted combat is rare, but so are both these weapons. But there is one clear choice in mounted combat, and it is the lance. In ground combat, you're not going to do a net. You're going to do other things. In mounted combat, clear choice. I would rather be a big fish of a small pond than a tiny fish of a huge pond. The net is a tiny fish in the pond of ground fighting. Lance is the top alpha predator of the pond of mounted combat.
Until someone has a pike.
That is my final statement.
Until someone has a pike and you're dead. I'm pretty sure pikes go 15 feet or something like that. I don't know.
Who knows?
Stupid. Yeah. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Owlbear Bros podcast. Please list any suggestions for us, and we'll see you next time.
And tell us who won the debate.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Cool. You can also get fish. You can survive with it.